Hello everyone, it's Sheila back again. Welcome to my channel. I am busy sewing up Claudette's cardigan. It's almost finished. I've just got to finish sewing it up, and then I can put the bands on the front. But I had to be very careful sewing this up because it has, as you can see, the seams have sort of got a kind of a garter stitch pattern to the edge. You have to be very careful when you're sewing them up that you don't pull those stitches too tight, or else it makes it gather up the seam. So I've had to be very careful, and I tried to do this yesterday and I just gave it up because the weather was too dark and I couldn't see what I was doing, and I am having a little bit trouble with my eyesight at the moment. That's probably a lot to do with it as well. I really need my eyes tested. The last time, it was about 5 years ago, and I was told I had a cataract starting in one of my eyes. And they said it'll probably not trouble you at the moment, but it'll be later on. And that was 5 years ago, and I think it's in my right eye because I'm starting to have some trouble, blurry vision and that sometimes, and I think it's caused through that. And it's worse when I take my glasses off. I can't see a thing when I take my glasses off. And then I'm also having a little bit trouble with this hand, with my thumb. I'm getting a pain going from my finger up my hand, and I think it's like a kind of going up to my wrist. I think it's like a kind of repetitive strain thing, and I think I need to leave my knitting and crochet for a little while till it gets back to normal. It seems to be more when not so much when I'm doing crochet, but when I'm doing knitting. But I do use this hand most for when I am knitting. This hand is more or less just holding the needle, but I do use this thumb for to push the stitch, and I think that's what's causing it. So I think after I finished Daggery's poncho, I think I'm going to give it a little bit rest for a little while. I'll see how it goes anyway. But you know, it's been rotten, miserable days, the last few days. The light's been terrible and that. And then today I sat down and started sewing this cardigan up. I couldn't see what I was doing for the sun. It's getting a bit later now. It's 3 o'clock now. The sun's starting to go down, but it was shining directly through my living room window onto what I was sewing here, and I couldn't see it for the light. It was just making it like shimmer. And I says, "Oh, you see, you cannot get anything right these days." But I had a good day yesterday. My granddaughter messaged me. I go down my granddaughter's on a Wednesday anyway, but she messaged me to come down early because her dad was there. My middle son, well, his name's Anthony, but we always call him Tony, for the reason his older brother couldn't see Anthony when he was little, and he got called Tony, and it stuck. He was there to fix that cooker. He'd come up he lives in Yorkshire, not near Sheffield, and he come up for just the day. He comes up and goes back down again in the same day, and she needed 2 new knobs on a cooker because I think the last one, a partner Craig had dropped a plate on it and it had hit the knob sticking out in the cooker and had snapped it off. And he had done the same thing a little while before that, so she only had two rings on the cooker to cook anything with. So he had come up to fix that cooker for us. So I had a visit from my son, and we had a good day. We had a lot of conversation, and the conversation started getting, I don't know what brought it on to hair, but Cheryl was saying, you know, because I was saying about how my hair's going thin on the front, I'm losing my fringe and all that, and she started saying something. She says, "I think mine's going as well then, Anna." She says, "It must be hereditary, you know." She says, "Mine's going because she wears it in a ponytail, and that she sees it's going at the sides. And well, her dad was looking at her and he sees it's got nothing to do with hereditary, man. He sees it's women in their ponytails. I said, what do you mean, ponytails? He says, well, when you sees you've wore a ponytail as long as I've known you. He says, Cheryl wears a ponytail all the time. He says, and you're pulling your hair back on your head. I says, that's rubbish, Tony. I says, look at you. You've hardly got any hair at all. I says, and you never ever had a ponytail. So the conversation got on about his younger brother, Ian. He did have a ponytail for quite a lot of years. And my grandkids, Cheryl and her brother David, used to stop at my house every weekend. And every weekend they used to come up and give him dirty looks all weekend because they couldn't understand why, well, he was still only a teenager, why a boy had a ponytail. I was saying, hey, stop calling your brother. And that's the way we had a good laugh, a really good bit of conversation. And then the conversation got on about when they were kids and about Christmas. So I was telling them one of mine, I said, when we were little, I says, I forget how old I was, but I says, when I realised there was no such person as Santa Claus, I says, but my mum used to buy all the sweets and things, and she used to hide them all over the house long before Christmas, like getting, those tubes of Smarties and pastels and things like that, and they used to be hidden all over the house. And I told my younger sister, Linda, I said, there's no such person as Santa Claus. I says, it's my mum and dad buys all the sweets and the toys and everything. I made her cry, nasty little so-and-so I was in them days, And I can't remember what got us onto this conversation as well, but anyway, I says, I told her that there was no such person as Santa Claus, and so I showed her where my mum was hiding all the sweets and the tubes and things. I says, there's all the sweets and the tubes and that. And I said, we found them. I could have one or two with me mum. I never know, will she? So there was three of us, my older sister Eleanor as well, but she wasn't involved, and it was just me and Linda. So we're opening the tubes, and I said, we'll have one out of this one out of that one, and one out of the third. So I took one each out of the three. So every so often we were going in, help myself to one or two of the sweets out of the tubes. And we were at my mother's one time, and we were talking about the same thing, and we were laughing, and Linda says, when we used to get the tubes at Christmas, there was hardly any sweets in them. And my mother says, I know, she says, you don't think for 1 minute I didn't know what yous were up to, did you? She says, and I knew Eleanor wasn't involved in it, so she says, when it came to Christmas and putting the sweets out for you, she says, I used to take a lot of sweets out of your 2 tubes and put them into Eleanor's to make up for all the ones you had been pinching out of the tubes. And that was my mother, and we're on about, I used to go to my mother's every Saturday, my 2 sisters, and we all met up at my mother's on a Saturday, and we went up on first married, and then when I had the kids, I took the grandkids up, and then when I had my kids had kids, I should take the great grandkids up, Cheryl and David and Jenna and Declan, the whole lot of them, used to take them up. And well, I always used to go shopping on a Saturday. Well, my older sister Eleanor we all had our own cars, but Eleanor always used to take my mother in her car. And Eleanor wasn't there one day, and I said to my mum, well, you've come in I didn't have the kids with me this week, I think it was just me. So I said, oh, just come in my car, mum. No, I'll go in Linda's. I said, what's the matter with my car, Oh, she says, you didn't pass your test first time. She says, Eleanor and Linda did. I says, what difference does that make? She says, well, she says, they're better drivers than you. I says, they're not better drivers than me. And that's the way she used to go on. But anyway, I went up one week and my 2 sisters weren't there. There was only me, so she had to come in my car. Well, at the time, my husband was disabled, and I had one of those badges for the car. And it was a really near Christmas time, and we were going shopping into the shopping centre, and couldn't I hell find a parking place. We were driving round and round and round. There was just nowhere to park. It was just packed, and every time we saw a potential one, somebody else seemed to get there first. And we're driving round near the front of the shop, and my mother seen a parking place for a disabled one. There's a space there. She says, there's a space there, get in there. And I said to her, you cannot go in there, Mum. I says, that's for the disabled. And she says, well, you've got a disabled badge for the car. I says, but it's not for me. I says, it's for Alan. I says, Alan has to be in the car. I can't park in a disabled spot unless Alan's in the car. She says, but we can't find anywhere else. She says, well, but you've been driving round and round and round. You'll have no petrol left if you keep on driving round and round anymore. And I says, we can't park there, Mum. It's for a disabled person. I says, there might be somebody disabled might come and want that spot. And I says, we are taking it. And I says, anyway, I says, I could get fined for doing that. And I says, it's for somebody disabled. And she said to me, you will be disabled in a minute. She says, if you don't get in that parking place. So I had to park in that disabled spot, and I could have killed her, and I was in and out that shop as quick as I could. I says, to get back out, because they do have wardens going around checking things like that, you know, like I tried to tell her, but that was my mother. So I had a good little discussion yesterday and that, and my son was away back home again after I had tea and that, and he was away back home to where he lives. It's a place called Carlton Lindrick. It's near Sheffield somewhere. Sheffield works up around that way. But anyway, I am going to bingo tonight, and I hope the trouble I'm having with this eye doesn't stop me seeing the numbers on the card. I would hate to miss the bingo. So I have to get sorted for some tea. I've got plenty of time where I don't leave till about 6:30, because I take my friend up at 7. We get to the place for about 7:15. So got to meet all the other girls. So I am hoping that I'm going to have this finished sewn up by then, and at least I might be able to put the oh, no, I forgot I've had a parcel from Lovecraft. I ordered some more. I haven't got much of this left that Carol bought for me, so I've bought some more in case I get more orders for coasters. But even if I don't use it all, it'll come in for next year. I'll just keep on making the coasters and put them to one side until I need them. So I got 5 balls each of the green, the red and the cream. And while I was looking there, I also saw these. The Zing knitting needles, and they were only £3.75 a pair. Now I've looked other places and they want, it's a certain price for one size and the price keeps going up and up and up for each size. Well, I've already got 4 pairs that Sandra bought me, and I bought 3mm, which I didn't have, 4.5mm, which I didn't have, 5.5mm, and 6.6 So I now have a full set of 8. The most needles I will probably need, and this has come just in time, because when I finish sewing up this cardigan, I'm going to use the 4.5 ones to do the bands on the front, because I have to pick the stitches up sideways on it. But I'm going to have to work out how many stitches, because when I've done this cardigan, it's a lot shorter than the pattern, because Claudette wanted it shorter. She wanted it more or less around about waist length. So the pattern tells you, it's quite a longer cardigan on the pattern, and that tells you to pick up, I think it's 5 stitches, miss the 6th one. But I'm going to work out for myself. I'm going to measure the front, and I'll go by how many stitches to the inch that I do when I'm knitting to pick the stitches up the front. So I'll be using my 4.5, which ones are the my new Zing needles, and hope that because this cardigan was very hard to knit, because this wool, it's quite hard to knit. But when Sandra sent me the Happy Meal the other day, she sent me the pair of zing needles that I was using on this cardigan, and I changed to them and they knitted great. It was a lot easier knitting with the zing than it was with my old needles. Here I have, these were the ones I was using, that 5mm, these ones, that's what the cardigan is knit in, with 5mm. And it was a lot easier using the zing than these ones. They just seem to slide off the needles. So I don't know what magic they've spun when they've done those needles, but they are great needles to knit with. And I have got a load of other needles and I haven't got a clue what I'm going to do with them all now. But I think I will probably get a few more pairs of zing, because I do knit now and again with very thin wool, so I'll probably need some 2 and 225 and 275. I'll probably get some thinner needles for the knitting with the thin stuff. But I'm going to get on with this now and then sort myself out for my bingo tonight. So thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you up another day. So bye for now.